hello. Welcome to episode 3 of the Your Voice is Your Power podcast. My name is Jasmine Taylor. I am the sales manager here at Active Minds for our Speakers Bureau. And we are the nation's premier organization for mobilizing youth and young adults around mental health. So just to give a quick recap, the Your Voice is Your Power podcast is a series that we started here at Active Minds that will focus specifically on mental health advocacy. This means advocacy at all levels, in your school, in your community, and even advocacy for yourself. Each season of this podcast will focus on a distinct demographic and mental health advocacy topic. So this season, we are here to converse and talk about Black women's self-care and advocacy. So knowing that this is a really important topic, very impactful, as many others are, but our focus today is within this realm, and the best way to kind of sum up our reason is a quote by B. Atkins Jackson in 2020. And it goes as follows. There is a need for definition of self-care for Black women that includes the role of structural and external factors in requiring self-care as survival. Additionally, there is a need for empirical research that connects the dots in literature from intersectional oppression to self-care practice. Furthermore, there is a need for delineated self-care practices for Black women to engage that improve health. So without further ado, we're going to get started into introducing my guest today, Ms. Diabre Lewis. Diabre is a sophomore at North Carolina A&T University, majoring in psychology and hailing from Baltimore, Maryland. She is the vice president of her Active Minds chapter on her campus and is also currently serving on the National Active Minds Student Advisory Committee. Diabre is interested in Active Minds because she wants to change the stigmas surrounding mental health and how African Americans feel towards mental health and mental health resources. So welcome. If you can give us a little bit of information, I'm so excited to sit and chat with you today.
Yes, I'm excited to chat with you today too. I'm really excited about this topic that we're going to be doing because I feel like it's very important. So I'm ready to get into the episode.
Yay. Well, let's get into it. Okay. So first and foremost, we'll start at the beginning here. Can you share a bit about your personal journey with self-advocacy and just self-care overall as you navigate as a Black woman?
I would say my self-advocacy journey started when I started this program called Healing Youth Alliance. And it's basically where we talk about mental health. We do different presentations and we just talk about different mental health topics to get other people educated on them. And that's kind of where my self-advocacy journey started. And then from there, it kind of took flight because it's like, I'm doing this. I'm really eager to learn more. So just like I was just getting my hands into so many other areas, so many different things. And that's when I became a mentor. I became just so much more. And as far as self-care, the transfer from high school to college was hard for me, especially because I'm 6 hours away from home. I'm 6 hours away from my family. It's hard. So that's where my self-care journey kind of started, just trying to navigate the high school to college transition.
Okay, I love it. So I do have to bubble back to or double back, whichever word fits best. But we're gonna go back to the portion where you mentioned the organization that you started. Can you tell us just a little bit more about that, and then say the name one more time for me?
Okay, so I didn't start it, but I was a part of the first cohort, and we
Mhm.
were basically kind of like the testing cohort. And it's called Healing Youth Alliance. It's in Baltimore, and it was just a mental health organization where we are doing presentations, and it started virtually because it started on COVID times, and it was a 10-week program, and you learn about all things mental health, like substance abuse, depression, anxiety, stuff like that. And then you go and you present to, it's like a big conference and so many people join. It was over like 100 people on there. but we're also working with actual mental health therapists, mental health advocates. So it's just like a real life training, basically.
I love that. I love the idea of bringing professionals in. Do you think that that also added to your inspiration to decide to really move forward in like advocacy and conversations around mental health as well?
I would say yes, mainly because when you're younger, you see a lot of things such as like gun violence. You see people going through substance abuse. You see people experiencing depression, anxiety, and stuff like that. But when you're when you're younger, you don't know exactly what those things are. You can't really put a term to them because you're not educated enough yet. And so it's like as you get older and you start to be exposed to more things, more terms, better language, the words start to come together. You could put pieces together. So this being a part of this cohort taught me that it was like it's so much more that I can be doing. It's so many people who need help. And then from where I come from, Baltimore, Maryland, it's so much gun violence. And just seeing those people experience that stuff, seeing so many people every day crying because someone has lost somebody, it showed that my city needs a lot of healing, which is also why I'm so motivated and eager to. I want to be a mental health therapist. So that's kind of like my goal and my drive for why I want to do that.
I love to hear that. More Black women in mental health, please. Let's go.
Yeah.
Um, so when and I think that you alluded to this a little bit in the first half, but so you're when you look at your passion about changing the stigma around mental health, right? Why would you say you are passionate about changing those stigmas around mental health and how African Americans in particular feel towards mental health and mental health resources?
I would say coming from a personal standpoint and just seeing how my family is, I realized that the opportunities that we have now as a younger generation, they didn't have when they were our age. So it's like seeing kind of like the family dynamic unfold and seeing how the generational curses are, seeing how so much trauma is being passed down because people aren't really taking the necessary steps to heal or they don't have the resources. It just gives me a more of a drive to want to do those things and to want to be in this field because not only will I do I want to be a mental health therapist, I want to also own my own firm. And with my firm, I want to have it to where it's like I'm bringing in youth and they can learn different entrepreneurship skills because I have a lot of entrepreneur friends and I also want to open my own businesses. So it's like they'll be getting those resources and also to the people who can't afford therapy because I know therapy is mad expensive. I'm going to
Mhm.
have healing circles where people from the community can come in and talk about anything they need to talk about, get out of their chest, get off their chest, whatever the case may be. And it's just like that's our sacred place for the community because I know people they don't really want to sit and talk to somebody that they don't know. So I figured that if they sit and talk to people that's within their community, it might be better and more comfortable. So that's why.
I love that. I love that. Take it from one place to another, which I think that community, just like you said, community has a bigger impact to an extent.
Yes.
I feel like therapy and going to those spaces are very great. But sometimes you do need something different depending on the person because it's really more, what do they call it? Person centered.
Yeah.
Person centered care is very much so key. So I really do appreciate that point. That sounds like a lot. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what that looks like.
Right. Too.
So when you think of self care, this journey that you've been on, and kind of going through the motions to figure out what works best for you,
Mhm.
how would you personally define self care?
I would define self care as pouring into yourself, taking care of yourself, just outside of what the world says, outside of everybody else, outside of making sure everybody else is okay, putting you first, and just being there and catering to your own needs before you do it to everybody else's. That's what I define self care as.
I like that. Very, very accurate. So it's kind of like putting yourself first so you can be there for other people.
Mhm.
That's right. So, looking at that, when you think of your own personal self care routine, especially being in college, as you said, that transition is big, right? So, how do you incorporate self care into your routine as a college student, balancing so many leadership roles and responsibilities? Because you have a resume, like a thick resume, a good one at that. So, when you're looking at all these great things and great impacts that you're making, how do you kind of hold yourself accountable or at least incorporate self care into your routine on a daily basis?
So something that I do, I journal a lot. I journal all day, every day. And also, I feel like for me, it's kind of like a rule that I have, but I have to be done my homework and stuff by 10. 10 is when I cut everything off. If I'm not done, figure it out in the morning. But 10 is my cutoff time because I feel like during the day as a college student and also with the other responsibilities that I have so much time catered to that. So it's like I don't have time for myself. So the 10 cutoff is where I draw the line and I focus just on me, where I can journal, I can read, I can just listen to music or watch a TV show if I want to, take a nice bubble bath. But 10 p.m. is where I cut it all off, and that's just my time.
That's fair. I need to do that. Like that sounds good because I always say five is the end of it. But then my dog has to remind me, and that's when it switches up a little bit. They can never be kind about that. Um, so now that you have, it seems like you have your routine in lock. Um, what advice would you give to other college students for self care, or is there a specific advice that you give college students who also identify as Black women?
I would say really be disciplined about your self care and the things that you want to see within this journey because you always have to have a goal in mind when you are, creating your self care checklist and things that you want to do. Don't put something on there that you know isn't gonna is not realistic. So like putting something on your list for like taking a walk for like 5 hours. Like that's not realistic. But if you say like taking a walk for maybe like an hour and then at 3 p.m., something like that, like being realistic about your self care list and also just like planning it. Because that's something that I did was plan it and I actually had to write it down and post it somewhere so that I can see it consistently and so that I can also hold myself accountable for that. And that's my advice.
I love that. I love that. There are key things that I will put on my Google Calendar, and it's like in the middle of the day, sit down. I'm like, oh, I will be seated. So as you look at your peers on campus or just during classes, anything of that sort, how do you see your peers truly implementing self-care into their lives? And does it usually contrast with your self-care habits, or is it pretty aligned as far as like an agreement on this is a really good self-care activity?
Well, I see a lot of different types of self care on the campus. So when it's like good days where it's kind of like hot, not too chilly, I see a lot of people having picnics on campus. And they'll be because we have like a village quad, and that's where like the nice grass is and stuff like that. And that's where people will pull out a blanket, bring their friends, have a nice little picnic. So that's something that I see personally. And also, I just see a lot of people like doing the same thing that I do, maybe taking a walk during the day, and I also personally know friends who journal a lot when it comes to their self care because that's the easiest way to get things out, whether that's on paper or the notes app in your phone.
I love it. I love it. I love everyone like-minded individuals, which
Hmm.
is always a good feeling, right? So went back to yourself and your self-care, right? What specific ways have you found have been the most effective or most rewarding as well, that you would advocate for yourself and your self-care as a mental health leader on your campus?
Can you ask the question again?
Mhm, I got you. So, what specific ways do you advocate for yourself as well as your self care as a mental health leader on campus?
So I would say when it comes to just being the vice president of an organization here on camp, I would
Mhm.
say I have to constantly remind my e-board and also just the general members of the organization that, hey, I'm also human. I'm also a college student. So like sometimes they be coming with some crazy requests. Sometimes if we have specific things that we need people on the e-board to do and they aren't meeting the deadlines, it's just like, come on, because like we all a team now. It's not just
Mhm.
one person. When you're a part of something on campus and you're a part of a big org, because the mental health organizations are always the biggest organizations because most campus only have one. So it's like when
Mhm.
you're a part of those big organizations, people don't look at it as, oh, like we're all a team now. We're all a family. We're all just like one big group. They always look at it as like individuals, but it's just like you have to constantly remind them like, hey, I'm a college student. I'm also going through things. Nobody got everything figured out, but if we all work together, we got it. Like just constantly reminding them and affirming them like, hey, you're doing a good job, but we gotta stay on track. We gotta constantly uplift each other. So that's kind of something that I constantly do is constantly uplift my e-board, but also making sure that they stay on task and also affirming them and letting them know that hey, I also got a lot going on too.
True, 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 true. So, when you're looking at your in comparison, when have you ever had a moment where you were like, I really do have to advocate for myself off campus as well? And what did that feel like? Like, kind of more so, what was that experience, if you don't mind sharing? But has there been an experience, or was there a time where it was just like, oh, this is a little different?
I would say mainly with my family
Mhm.
because I am considered like the black sheep of the family because I'm like the first person to really stick with college. I'm the first person to really get away and actually want to do like something with my life kind of. That kind of sounded bad, but yeah. And
Right.
it's just like they constantly like look at me as the person that has to be like so perfect. And it's like they always like I have younger siblings, so it's like they looking up to me and stuff like that. So it's like if I make a mistake, now it's like that's the worst mistake in the world. And I have to constantly like tell them like, hey, I'm human. Like I'm gonna make as many mistakes there are. Like I nobody has anything together. I understand like y'all look at me and y'all hold me to a certain standard, but it's just like y'all expectations a little too high, a little
Yeah.
too high. I can meet most of them, but they a little too high. So that's kind of
Mhm.
like how I self advocate for myself within my family, and just constantly like telling them like, hey, I'm human. I understand y'all look at me as this in this certain light, but it's like I got this. Just relax. Like it's
Mhm.
okay. I'm mess up here and there, but I got it. I'm gonna fix it. So
That's fair. I love that you highlighted that too. That just like I gave me a whole other question to ask. Clearly, I'm that person. Um, but when you're looking, so knowing that fact, because I too am the black sheep of my family. I always say I'm the unpaid therapist. If anybody needs something, they're gonna come and call me,
yes.
right? And I take pride in that. It's a really good place to be. But I think that it's good that you highlighted that there's two sides to it, right? And being able
Mhm.
to advocate for yourself in that space is truly important.
Mhm.
Um, but when you look at some of your peers as well, do you notice that as a trend too, that they're in their first, so they kind of get the same reaction from family, or is it kind of not as often heard?
So some of my friends who are also psychology majors, I notice like they'll all like we all have kind of like the same conversations around the same things, and it's always surrounded by like family. So it's just like it just feel like our families are holding us to a higher expectation, but it's just like they're disregarding the fact that we're still human. So it's just like they kind of like discredit us in a way when we make a mistake. And as psychology majors, I don't know if it's just me, but we kind of like self-analyze everything. We got to get to the deeper root of everything. So just like
Mhm.
having those conversations, you kind of like understand like you're not the only person who goes through those things. You're not the only person who has those same conversations. So just like we all are in the same boat right now.
I love that. I love that you all found community in that, because I think it's rare that anybody says it. I think you're the first person that I haven't been like around on a regular basis that has just said it. So I do appreciate you bubbling that up and making space for that within this conversation, because I think it's very important, especially if you're the first to do something. The expectations can be wild, but again, still advocating for yourself on and off campus. I think that really creates the balance. So I love that. Thank you. I appreciate you for that one. So how do you respect and honor other people's need for self care as a leader on campus? So essentially, if you all are putting on events, say you have like a really busy week happening, and you know you have these deadlines, but the main person comes to you like, "Look, burnout is real." How do you respect and honor and just kind of handle that situation and walk through that and navigate with them?
So a situation like this has already occurred where like the president said like, "Hey, I need time. Like I can't do this," and it was just like so many things that we had to turn in at a certain time. So it's just like as a vice president, I was kind of panicking a little bit, but
Mhm.
I had to also like get myself together and be like, "Hey, like if you need me, I'm there. Like I don't care what's going on. I'm there if you need me." As because like when you're a vice president, you have somebody that's over top of you, but you also have people that's under you. So you have to kind of like pick yourself up to make sure that nothing lacks. So when she came to me and said that, "Hey, I need a moment, I need a break," I was there. I affirmed and like, "Hey, you know I'm here if you ever need me. If you need anything, you can always text me. Take as long as you need because, like I said, when you're a part of an organization here on camp, y'all become a family. Y'all become one. Y'all become a community. So it's like I made sure to tell her like I'm here for you. I'm there, just so that she knows that she's not alone with whatever it is that's going on. And
Mhm.
that's kind of how I handle situations like that. So like if anybody is going through something, maybe they lost somebody in their family, I send my condolences, but I also let them know like we're here for you if you need anybody. Like don't ever feel alone when you're a part of this family, this community, and this group.
Mhm. I love that. It's a constant trend of community.
Hmm.
Um, and as just like a quick summary on that, just to really push that point, community makes a big difference, right? So rather than, like you said, just feeling like it's just you, it
Hmm.
seems like what I'm hearing is a lot of the instances and inspiration that you have is that support and being within that community base and continuing to create that space for others so that they
Yeah.
can have the same success, right? Um, so, last but not least,
Hmm.
how do you see your role of self advocacy and self care evolving within the broader conversation around mental health and wellness for Black women?
I would say I want to take this to the next level and inspire other people. So with me, I want to also create my own podcast where I'm talking about different mental health topics and I'll be bringing other people on. So just kind of like allowing people to know like as black women, as black people in general, we're all a family. Like you see black people all the time, you be like, hey, like you know what I'm saying? Like you just connect.
Mhm.
So it's like allowing them to understand like nobody is alone in this journey. We go through things that a lot of other people can't connect with, can't resonate with because they have never experienced that. So just allowing people to know like we're all one big family, whether we know each other or not, whether that's your cousin, that's my cousin now. So it's just like allowing people to understand like self care, we're gonna be doing this forever. It'll never be a time where you don't practice self care because it's always going to be a point in life where you need self care, where you need to take a break, where you need to sit down, just think, write, talk out loud if you need to. So it's just like taking this to the next level, but also inspiring people while I do it.
I love that. Sitting right on in it. That's all I'm saying. 'Cause y'all know I'm with it. Everybody's my cousin. You my auntie, you my niece. So
Yes.
I always say it the wrong way, but do I care? No. um, but thank you so much for really shedding light within that. I do have one additional question because I love a good origin story. Hence,
Yeah.
I'm with the Speakers Bureau. um, but when you first got onto campus or your first interaction with Active Minds and thinking about being in chapters and things of that sort,
Mhm.
what was your first date with Active Minds? What kind of popped into your head first to say, I really do want to be a part of this?
So I'm not gonna lie, I was
Mhm.
contemplating really hard my freshman year. I was like, I'm not gonna join no organizations. I want to just kind of be like mysterious. I want to see what this about, but I don't want to really join anything because I want to just ease my way into freshman year. But then it was just like I went to the org fair here on camp, and that's where I met the people of Active Minds, and it was just like I need to do it. It was literally only like 4 people on the e-board when I first met them, and it was just like the e-board was so small, but the mental health part was so impactful. Like what they had to say, what they were talking about. Mind you, the Active Minds chapter here on campus is the only mental health organization on the whole campus. So we're the only organization that talks about mental health, that does events as far as mental health. So it's just like when I was communicating and I was talking to them, it was just like, oh yeah, like I like the way that y'all are with each other because although it was 4 people and that's so little for it to be a million and one people on this campus, it was just like you could sense that they all like loved each other in a way. Even though they probably just met, you could still sense like it's some type of family oriented type of thing going on here. And it was like, okay, I want to be a part of that because I need to do something. And this was my leeway into that. And freshman year, I was the only freshman on the e board that was elected, and I started as a vice president. So
Okay.
yeah,
They
so
saw
I was
that
a
right.
I was a vice president freshman with a
Mhm.
whole bunch of seniors and stuff under me. So just like that role was huge.
Yeah. I love that. And it sounds like you have we all have like an inner perfectionist. It sounds
Mhm.
like you have that at bay. Like, I can do this, but
Yes.
chill out. Real bad. Um, well, I do appreciate that. Thank you for answering my long little spew of questions. Um, Now, on to my fun part, because I like to have a little fun here. Um, do you have, say, a song, a book, quote, poem, anything that comes to mind, like, say, when you're having, even down to an affirmation, that just kind of pops into your head when it's like, today is just not the day. I need something to get me through.
Um. Okay. So it's this song by Mary J. Blige called "Good Morning Gorgeous," and I play that song all the time when I'm like when my confidence is low. If I'm having
Mhm.
a bad day, it could be the worst day possible. I put that song on. I be like, "Oh yeah, I'm gorgeous. Like the day is good." I look in the mirror, and something that I also have is an affirmation wall, and I have a whole bunch of affirmations written on sticky notes, and I post them on my wall in my bathroom because that's where I go all the time. And so like seeing that, it's just like I see affirmations. This is like if I'm having a bad day, I go in the bathroom, say a few affirmations in the mirror, play the song, and it's like day is made, day is good, I'm okay. And that's also something that I constantly do, even when I don't have my affirmations in front of me. I take a deep breath, be like, I'm okay. The day is not over yet. You have 24 hours in the day. You met at 9 o'clock in the morning. You still have a whole day. So I have
Those
to
are the hard.
constantly keep
You
affirming
just woke
myself.
up.
Yeah.
The worst. I appreciate that. I'm glad that Mary J. Blige has continued to be a walking affirmation for everyone. Just
Mhm.
saying. It's my girl right there when them boots come out. Um, do you have, when you think of just self advocacy, self care, and just mental health, like as far as an inspiration, right? Do you have any, like maybe one or two figures that you look at, like, I really do appreciate just their outlook on mental health and what they're doing in the community at the moment?
Yeah, so all of my friends back at home, Elder, Charity, Cam, all of them, I look up to them because they do a lot for the community. Like
Mhm.
Elder, she cuts hair, and it's called Healing through haircuts. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's something like that's really helpful, especially for the youth, because it's so many young boys out here getting into the street life because they don't have any more recs open, they don't have any other places to go. So it's like having that for them is just so nice. And then my friend Charity, she goes to Clark, Atlanta, but she's also from Baltimore. And just seeing how like impactful she is within the community, even though she's like 10 hours away, it's still like very nice to see. So it's like I look to them for inspiration.
I love that. I think I've heard of the haircut one. I'm like, hold on. Am I thinking of the same thing? Knowing me, I am. I'm so excited. Thank you for elevating that in the conversation because we are local. So having that, just that information is just great to share. I'm all about giving somebody a good resource. So please check that out. So, do you have, when you're thinking of your moments of mindfulness, right?
Mhm.
You have a mindfulness activity that you do, even just to settle you. It could be meditation, it could be, just something quick to just kind of, again, ground you a little bit.
Okay, so people like when I explain this to people, they be laughing at me, but like it's a technique that my therapist gave me. It really helps. But like when I'm having like a bad day or when it's like life is just too hard for me, I'll go in the room by myself and you gotta like hug yourself and like take deep breaths. But I incorporated the affirmations when I take the deep breaths. So it's like I love myself and then keep doing it. Like just keep saying different affirmations or like I am okay, today is a good day, stuff like that. So it kind of grounds me and just keeps me within that moment and just allowing me to understand like it was 5 seconds. The situation happened 5 minutes ago. You are okay now. Like, yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm the type of person that overthinks everything. I overthink so much. So I have to constantly keep affirming myself like it's okay. It will not go the way that you got it in your head. It's gonna go good. Like you got this.
Mhm. I love that. I'm the same way. Literally overthinks a million things. Something drops on the ground, thinking about it 3 hours later. Why? I picked it up. I don't understand. But hey, it is what it is. But overall, thank you so much. I think that list of things, I always like a little recap, list of things that I truly enjoyed is especially who you look up to. I think it's really good to hear that doesn't always have to be like somebody way over in left field or anything like that. And truly showing appreciation for what you see around you is inspiration too. I love that. You have so many great things happening, and that resume, this is gonna look good. So I wish you the best of luck on all your endeavors. The programs, the things that you want to do in the community sound amazing, and you have a great group of friends. Nonetheless, thank you so much for taking the time just to chat with us and let me pick your brain. And thank you, everyone else, for joining us today. We truly appreciate you giving time and space to this conversation as we continue to build our podcast and, forethink for upcoming episodes and seasons. We love feedback. It's really hard to do that without feedback. So feel free to give us any insight you have, anything that pops in your mind that you think that would make this better or that we should at least give light to in this conversation, because mental health is for everyone. So if you want to give us feedback on this podcast episode or just in general, please check out our survey in the show notes. And we look forward to you tuning in next time. So thank you so much, Diabre. I appreciate you, 110. And thank you all for tuning in.